Promise beneath the lanterns. The night market shimmered with warm lanterns swaying in the summer breeze. Among the laughter, the chatter, and the scents of roasted chestnuts, Emily walked slowly, her heart heavy. She hadn't seen Daniel in 3 years, ever since he left their little town to chase his dreams in another country. She stopped at the bridge where they used to meet, her fingers tracing the carved initials they once scratched into the railing, E+D. She smiled faintly, remembering his promise. No matter where I go, I'll come back to this bridge when the lanterns are lit. The crowd moved past her, but she stayed. Minutes slipped into an hour. Just as she was about to leave, she heard a familiar voice. Emily? Her breath caught. She turned, and there he was. Daniel, older, taller, with eyes that carried both exhaustion and hope. He was holding a lantern, glowing softly in his hands. You came, she whispered. I promised, didn't I? His smile was a little nervous, like it used to be when they were young. I couldn't forget. Not you. For a moment, neither moved. Then Emily took a step closer. Why now? She asked quietly. I thought I needed to prove myself somewhere far away, Daniel said, voice low. But every success felt empty without you. Tonight, I just wanted to find the piece of my heart I left here. Tears welled in her eyes. The lantern light painted his face in gold, and she felt the years of distance fade, leaving only the boy she once loved, the man she still did. Without another word, she reached out and touched his hand. His fingers closed around hers instantly, as if they'd never let go. Above them, hundreds of lanterns floated into the sky, carrying silent wishes. Emily and Daniel stood beneath them, hand in hand, no words needed. The promise was no longer just about coming back, it was about staying together from this night forward. The bridge at dusk. Every evening, Emma crossed the old stone bridge on her way home from work. The bridge stretched over a quiet river, its waters shimmering under the fading light. She loved that moment of peace, when the world seemed to breathe slower. One day, she noticed a young man sitting on the railing, sketching the view. His hair was messy, his notebook full of lines and colors. Curious, Emma paused. You come here often? She asked. He looked up, smiling as though he'd been waiting for her voice. Every day. The light changes, but the bridge never does. I'm Daniel. From then on, they began meeting there, sometimes by accident, sometimes on purpose. She would bring coffee, and he would show her his sketches. He drew the river, the trees, the bridge, but often, without realizing, he drew her silhouette among them. As summer deepened, Emma found herself lingering longer. Daniel listened to her stories about the office, about her little brother, about her dreams of traveling. In return, he shared the quiet passion of someone who saw beauty in everything. One evening, rain began to fall. They ran for shelter beneath the bridge's arch, laughing breathlessly. Emma's hair clung to her cheeks, and Daniel reached out, gently tucking it behind her ear. The world seemed to pause. Emma, he whispered, I don't just come here for the view anymore. Her heart raced. She didn't need him to explain. She already knew. Under the soft patter of rain, she leaned closer, and their lips met, a kiss that tasted of river mist and new beginnings. After that, the bridge was no longer just a place of passing. It became their place, a silent witness to a love that started with sketches, laughter, and the courage to reach across the space between two hearts. Years later, when they told the story of how they met, Emma would always smile and say, it began on a bridge, at dusk, when two paths finally crossed. The cafe at the corner. It was on a quiet autumn morning when Emma first noticed him. She had been coming to the little cafe at the corner of Maple Street for years, always sitting by the window with her notebook. That day, however, someone had taken the opposite seat. A young man with messy dark hair and tired eyes, reading a book with such focus that he didn't notice her staring. For weeks, he kept appearing at the same time, always with a book in hand. Emma grew used to the rhythm of his presence, the turning of his pages, the soft tapping of her pen. They never spoke, yet she found comfort in that silent One morning, rain poured heavily, and the cafe was unusually crowded. The only empty seat was across from Emma. He hesitated, then smiled politely. "May I?" he asked. She nodded, trying to hide the way her heart raced. His name was Daniel, a writer struggling to finish his first novel. Emma confessed she was a teacher who loved writing stories but rarely shared them. From that morning on, they began talking. Slowly at first, books, coffee, the weather. But soon, conversations stretched into hours, spilling into laughter and secrets neither of them had told anyone else. Autumn turned to winter. Snow covered the streets, and the cafe became their shelter. One evening, after Emma admitted she had never read any of his writing, Daniel shyly handed her a few pages. Her eyes widened as she read the dedication at the top, "For the girl by the window." Tears blurred her vision. She looked up to find him watching her nervously. Without thinking, she reached across the table and took his hand. "I think," she whispered, "I've been waiting for this story all my life." The cafe remained the same, wooden chairs, warm lights, the hum of conversation, but everything had changed. From then on, it wasn't just a corner cafe. It was where two lives quietly intertwined, where love began not with fireworks, but with the turning of a page. The last train home. It was nearly midnight when Anna stepped onto the empty platform. The soft drizzle made the station lights blur like watercolor, and the cool wind carried the scent of wet iron and distant rain. She pulled her scarf tighter, waiting for the last train that would take her home. Just as the announcement echoed, someone ran down the stairs, breathless, hair damp from the rain. It was Daniel. She hadn't seen him in 3 years, not since they had ended things quietly, with words left unsaid. "Anna?" His voice was uncertain, almost fragile. She turned, and for a moment, the world shrank to just the two of them. "Daniel. I didn't expect to see you here." Neither moved closer, yet the distance between them felt filled with everything they hadn't spoken. He laughed softly, nervous. "I missed the earlier train. Guess fate decided to give me one more chance." Anna looked at him, searching his face. He was older, but the warmth in his eyes was the same. Memories rose like waves, the late-night talks, the promises whispered under starlight, the goodbye that had hurt more than either admitted. The train roared in the distance. Daniel took a step toward her. "Anna. I never stopped thinking about you. I don't know if you've moved on, but if there's even the smallest chance," he paused, his breath visible in the cool night. "I'd like to try again." Her heart raced. The sensible part of her whispered to stay guarded, to let him pass like any other passenger in her life. But the softer part, the one that had never let go, leaned toward him like a flower to the sun. The train screeched to a halt. The doors opened with a hiss. Passengers stepped out, their footsteps echoing, yet Anna and Daniel stood still, locked in a silence louder than the world around them. Finally, she smiled, small, trembling, but real. "One more chance," she whispered. Daniel's shoulders relaxed, relief softening his face. He held out his hand, hesitant but hopeful. She slipped hers into it, warmth chasing away the chill of the night. Together, they boarded the last train home, not just to a destination, but perhaps back to the love they thought they had lost. The bench by the lake. It was a quiet autumn afternoon when Emma first noticed him. He was sitting on the old wooden bench by the lake, sketching something in his notebook. The leaves around them were turning shades of gold and crimson, drifting lazily onto the still water. Emma had always loved this place, but seeing him there made it feel different, warmer. For weeks, she passed by the same bench during her evening walks. He was always there, sometimes sketching, sometimes just staring at the horizon. She never dared to speak, though her heart always lingered a little longer than her steps allowed. One breezy evening, fate finally intervened. A gust of wind tore Emma's scarf from her neck and carried it straight to his feet. He picked it up, smiling softly as he handed it back. "You should hold on to it tighter," he said. His voice was calm, gentle. Emma laughed nervously. Seems like the wind had other plans. That simple exchange became the start of something unexpected. The next day, she sat beside him on the bench. They talked, first about the lake, then about books, music, and dreams. His name was Daniel, an artist who came here for inspiration. She told him she was a teacher who came to the lake to find peace after long days. Days turned into weeks. Their meetings became a quiet ritual. Sometimes they spoke endlessly, other times they sat in silence, content with just being near each other. Daniel showed her his sketches, many of them of the lake, but more and more of them began to resemble her smile, her eyes, the way her hair danced in the wind. One evening, as the sky blushed with sunset, Daniel hesitated before speaking. "Emma, may I show you something?" He opened his notebook to reveal a drawing of the bench, empty at first glance, but if one looked closer, two faint figures sat side by side, hands almost touching. Her heart skipped. "Is that us?" she whispered. He nodded. "It's what I hoped for." Emma looked at him, her eyes glistening with a mix of surprise and joy. Slowly, she reached out and placed her hand over his. "Then let's not keep it just in a sketch." And so, under the fading light and the gentle rustle of autumn leaves, their story began, not with grand gestures or declarations, but with a quiet promise shared on a simple bench by the lake.